What's up, guys? My name is Blake Moore, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Doordash podcast. Every Sunday, I'll be posting a new episode of the podcast, and on this podcast, what we go over is basically we just talk about all things DoorDash, and we're going to be having guest dashers on. We're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff here that relates to DoorDash. So we're going to have guest dashers on, we're going to be breaking down people's finances, and it's just going to be an overall great time. And another thing that I wanted to do on this podcast for you guys is every single week I'm going to give you an update of what my channel is making money-wise. Because this is a finance channel, I wanted to incorporate that into it so that you guys can be aware of just how much money I'm making doing YouTube, so that maybe it'll inspire you guys to do it as well, because I really think it can be a good gig if you want it to be. And so if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, then just know that I'm talking about my YouTube channel. And also, if I start making money from the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, then I'll incorporate that as well. So we're going to be talking all things DoorDash finance and just having a good time. So for the first guest on the first episode, we have me. That's right, guys. I'm the one that's going to be the guest of this podcast for the first episode, because I kind of just decided to do it on the spur of the moment. So I didn't have time to get anyone in here, but I thought it would be fun to actually have you guys get to know me a little bit better, to be honest with you. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going over my story on how I became a dasher and why I became a dasher. And then I'm going to be talking about what I love about DoorDash so much and just the benefits that have to go in with being a dasher and the things I like about it the most. And then we're going to go into some Q&A, and then at the very end, I'm going to give you guys a finance breakdown of my entire finances with DoorDash. So let's just get right into things. Let's start with my story. Like this week, it is all about me. So I will just be going over how it all got started. And so basically how it started was when I was 16, I got a job at Taco Bell. It was my first job ever, and it was an okay job. Nothing was that good about it, but it was like the first job I'd ever had. I had been a referee before for kids soccer and kids basketball. I got paid garbage. So this was like my first actual job where I had actual hours. I was working part-time. It wasn't just like a Saturday gig type thing. And so I started off, and I was just kind of lazy, to be honest with you. I would work the bare minimum. I would always try and get out of my shifts, and I just wasn't a good worker, to be honest with you. And so I just stayed at the bare minimum. I was just a team member, did absolutely nothing. I made $9 an hour. Okay, and so after that, a couple months into that job, something switched, and actually it was probably about a year. I got this new manager. His name was Terrence, and for some reason me and him just got along really well. And what he ended up having me do was he saw something in me. I don't know what it was, but maybe it was just him taking a guess. I don't know. But he also offered a raise to anyone that wanted to become a shift manager. So I jumped right on that, and I became a shift manager, and I got bumped up to $11 an hour. And I thought that was really good. I was 17. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm making $11 an hour. Woohoo. This is amazing. But the hours were just grueling. I was working 40 hours a week, going to high school as well, and just pretty much killing myself because of the lack of sleep I was getting. And so this carried on for a couple months, and I couldn't do it anymore. And so I quit, and I ended up going and working at Vasa Fitness. It's just a gym that we have here in Utah, and I ended up working there, but it wasn't good money. I made $9 an hour, and I got commission on any memberships that I sold. But in all, it wasn't what I wanted to do. I really liked being at the gym. I was really into working out and stuff, but it wasn't what I wanted to do with my life at this point. And at this point, I had just graduated high school, and so I didn't want to go to college because I didn't want to spend all that money, and really I was just so done with school that I was like, you know what, I'm going to just do something on my own. I'm not going to go to college like everyone else does. I'm going to do something. I'm going to try and be an entrepreneur, you know? And so then a couple months passed, and I ended up going back to Taco Bell, but this time I got hired right on as a shift manager, and I was making $12 an hour. And then just a couple months into this new section of my life, I guess, this rehiring at Taco Bell, I ended up becoming a relief manager is what they call it. It's the assistant to the general manager. So it was a pretty good job, but I got paid $13 an hour. It was fun. I liked the people I worked with, to be honest, but it was just grueling. I was working 55 hours a week, and I was just putting all my time and effort into this, making like $400 to $500 a week. And I was just like, man, like there's got to be something better. So I told my boss, who I got along with really well, I told him, I was like, hey, I need a raise, or like something's got to happen. And then after I told my boss that, he was just like, be patient, good things will happen, you're amazing, like just be patient. And I was like, okay, like I can be patient. This job sucks. I hate working till 1 a.m. every night, but you know what, if I can get a raise up to like 15 an hour, then I'll be good. And I was making overtime pay too, which wasn't bad. It was like $22 an hour or something like that. And so it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't good. Let's just say that. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. And so then after a few days from that conversation, I get a call from the area manager who's over like 13 stores in Utah, and he said he's going to promote me to a general manager. I'm going to have my own store, but it's going to be a KFC. And so I was hesitant to accept it because I really didn't want to go to a KFC. Like it just sounded awful to me, and it didn't sound appealing. Though I was going to get a raise, I was going to be working with all brand new people. I was going to have my own store, and it was a little nerve-wracking. I was 19 years old, being handed an entire business pretty much, because each store is its own individual business. So I was 19 years old going into this job. I ended up accepting it, and 2 weeks later, I was at my own store. And so I ran the entire finances of everything. I knew our profit margins. I ordered all the food for the restaurant. I took inventory. I made the schedules. I did everything for this store. Obviously, I was the general manager, and so I was in charge of everything. And this store was garbage. Let me just tell you that. Like, I get there, and it's just like, it was a pretty brand new store. Like it was only built a year prior to this. And so all the appliances were really nice and everything. And it was like a clean store, but the people there were just garbage workers, like complete trash. I could not get them to do good work at all. It was terrible. And so I show up, and the store is not making money. It is in the negative. They are like losing a couple $1,000s every single month. And my area manager was like, Blake, we're going to bring you in. You're going to fix this place up. You're going to do really well, and it's going to be great. And so I took the job, obviously, and I'm working there, and it's like 50, 60-hour weeks, and we're just like not even turning a profit yet. I'm just breaking even every single month, and it's terrible. And so eventually it got to the point where I just could not stand it anymore. I was about to turn 20 years old, and I was like, man, this cannot be it for me. My plan was that I was going to work my way up through the company, which was called Harmon's, and work my way up and become like the vice president of operations, make like $200,000 a year, and just be chilling, you know? That was my plan. But as I was working these grueling hours, I could not fathom doing this for another even 10 years of working this way. And so one day I couldn't take it anymore. So like, I think I was like 3 people didn't show up for that shift, and we were just getting bombarded by orders all night, just order on order on order, and it was terrible. We were short-staffed, and I could not get anyone to help me do anything. And so I ended up pretty much just walking out. Like, I closed the store with my friend who I had hired, and we just did the bare minimum. And that night I texted my area manager and I told him, like, hey, I'm not going to be working with you guys anymore. It's just you guys don't treat me very well. I never get any help, and it's just not the job for me. I want to become a personal trainer, or I want to do something outside of food. Like, I just cannot handle it anymore. And so I kind of regret the way that I quit on him, to be honest with you guys. Like, he was really good to me, and he saw a lot of potential in me, and he did give me my own store at the age of 19, which doesn't really happen in that company, to be honest with you. I don't want to like brag about myself or pat myself on the back, but I just want to like let you guys know, like, that's not a thing that happens very often. I was the youngest out of all the general managers, and so it was kind of cool that I had achieved that at such a young age, but it just wasn't for me. And so I quit on him. I do regret that. I should have put in like my 2-week notice and gone about it in a more mature manner. But, you know, you live and you learn. And so then I quit that. And then I decided, you know, I could do DoorDash full time. So let me take you back a couple years. So while I was a shift manager at Taco Bell, I decided I needed to make a little bit more money. So I was making $11 an hour at Taco Bell, and my brother actually started doing DoorDash. And he told me about it, and it was like 2017. I hadn't really heard of it that much. Like, it was still kind of a new concept coming out on the rise. And so he told me about it, told me how you work for yourself and the hours are flexible, you get paid pretty well, and just all that good stuff that comes along with DoorDash. And so it interested me. And so back in, like, I think it was early 2018 or something like that. I'm not sure when exactly it was, but it was about 3 years ago. I decided I wanted to make some more money than what I was making at Taco Bell. And so I did DoorDash part-time, like maybe 10 hours a week or something like that. And I was making $14 an hour doing that as a DoorDash driver. And so that already piqued my interest because I was making more money than I was as a shift manager at Taco Bell. And so I was like, I mean, this job is pretty nice, not going to lie. So that was the start of it all. But then once I became a general manager and stuff like that, I just couldn't fit in the hours to DoorDash. And so I put that off. But then once I quit, I was like, I kind of want to be a personal trainer, but I didn't know if that's exactly what I wanted to do. So I figured, well, for the time being, I'm just going to do DoorDash. And DoorDash paid really well at this point. Like, it was like $18, $20 an hour at some hours. And so I was like, man, I'm making more money working less hours than I was as a general manager owning my own store in a KFC, like at KFC. Like, this is crazy. I did not expect DoorDash to be that good. And so I'm doing DoorDash, and then I come across Graham Stephan. I don't know if you guys have heard of Graham Stephan. He's a huge YouTuber, huge real estate YouTuber, finance channel. You can check him out if you haven't seen him already. But I came across his channel, and he really inspired me to become a real estate agent. And so I put aside my personal trainer like school that I was going to do, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do real estate. It's always interested me, and just Graham really inspired me. He showed me how much money you can make doing it, and so I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is my career. And so I decided to get into real estate, and I did the schooling, completed all of it, and you spend a lot of money getting your real estate license. It's like over $2,000 to get started. So I was doing DoorDash as I was taking the schooling, and I was making good money DoorDashing. I was making $800 a week, like solid $800, and doing the schooling as well. And so I completed the schooling after about a month, and I was like, okay, let's get it. Let's get this license. Let's get going, sell some real estate. And I get out in the field of real estate, and it was like nothing like I expected. It was grueling. I had family members that didn't even use me as their agent. They went with other people, or they just didn't use me at all. And it kind of hurt my feelings, to be honest with you guys. Like, I was not expecting that. I was expecting my family at least to be like my first sales. That's what they always say, like in your real estate training, is that like your family is probably going to be your first sale. And so when this happened, like, it really discouraged me, to be honest with you guys. Hold up, I got to take a drink of water. So yeah, my family, they ended up just not using me, and it really discouraged me. And so I would put in a couple hours a day doing real estate. I'd run ads on Facebook. I'd go door knocking occasionally. I'd hold open houses, different stuff like that, but just nothing. Nothing was happening. I would get clients and they'd flake out on me. I would get a ton of leads and none of them would ever pan out. And I just wasn't making any money doing it. I was putting in all this time and effort and really it was getting me nowhere. Like I literally didn't make like a single cent. Like if I went and showed houses for other agents' clients, then they'd pay me like $25 an hour, sometimes $50 an hour, different stuff like that. But I'd only do it for like an hour or two. So the money wasn't that good. And so I was just doing DoorDash at the same time to try and compensate for making no money in real estate. I was making like a solid $400 or $500 a week, just trying to stay afloat. And then I ended up getting married, and me and my wife got an apartment, and I decided that real estate wasn't for me. But something that real estate did do for me, which I'm truly grateful for, to be honest with you guys, is that one of my marketing strategies while I was doing real estate was that I wanted to be a real estate YouTuber, just like Graham Stephan. Like that was my goal. And I was like, I'm going to put out videos. Like no one in my brokerage was really doing it. I was like, this is going to be a great way for me to stand out and be different than all the other agents. And a lot of the other agents were older and they were just not in tune with technology as well, and just stuff like that. You know how old people are. Like they don't get what's going on in the world, I feel like. So they were still doing their old ways and just different stuff like that. And so I was like, I'm going to do YouTube and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to attract so much of the younger demographic, and I'm going to do so good. But as I was putting out finance content, some of you guys who have probably been with me since day one, maybe you guys remember that, and the views were just not that good. And so I decided one day to put out a video. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll link it at the top. And for those of you listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can check out my YouTube channel and watch the video. But I put out a video where I made over $300 in one day door dashing. I actually did really good. It has like over 3,000 views right now, but that was at the time when I had like 100, 200 subscribers. And so this like blew me away, and I was like, man, people must like my DoorDash content. And so this kind of led right into like, I was doing real estate, but my mind was just constantly on like, how can I make better YouTube videos that people are going to watch? And time after time, it just was DoorDash. Like every single time I put out a DoorDash video, it did way better than the finance stuff. And so I was like, man, I think this is really something. Like this could go somewhere. And so that just was pretty much the last straw for me. Like you didn't need to tell me anymore that DoorDash was going to be what I was going to be doing for the next little while, and that YouTube was it for me. I just loved putting out videos. I loved everything about it. I loved the community that is around it, and just everything, the editing, the angles of the cameras and the filming, and literally everything about it I just loved. And so I knew that I couldn't really do real estate anymore, and that DoorDash was gonna have to be my main focus from now on, and it's turned out to be really great. I love making videos for you guys, and DoorDash is it. Like I love the company. I make such good money doing it now. I make like on average $25 an hour. And so like that's just how it all happened. Like that was my story from the first job I ever had to now, and how everything led up one thing after another to where I am now, DoorDashing full time and making YouTube videos full time as well. So there you guys have it. That is my story. Now I want to go into some other things for you guys. I want to go over some questions that I get asked a lot, and so we're going to do a little mini Q&A. So the first question I have for you guys is, what do I enjoy about being a DoorDash driver? I would say the number one thing I enjoy is the flexible hours and how well you get paid compared to like the amount of work you're putting in. So the best thing is that you get to choose your own schedule. Like that's like a dream for everyone. I don't know why more people don't do delivery, because you literally get to choose your own schedule, and it's phenomenal. Like you can work whenever you want, wherever you want. So that's one of the number one things I enjoy, but it definitely has to be the pay. Like I'm making $25 to $35 an hour, I would say, on average. And you don't have to put in much effort. Like I'm telling you guys, when I was working as a general manager, I would be like exhausted out of my mind. It was just like, I swear I was burning like 4,000 calories a day on my feet, 12 hours, like running around trying to manage people and just having your day ruined by people not showing up and just like all this garbage that happened. And then you go from that to just sitting in your car, picking up orders, listening to music, listening to audiobooks, just chilling. Like you literally chill for about however long you work, and I was making like $10 an hour more. So that's what I enjoy most about being a dasher, is you just work for yourself. It's your own pace, your own money, and you don't have to worry about anyone else ruining your day, because that happened so many times and so many people would not show up for their shifts when I was a manager, and that would ruin your whole night and even your whole week sometimes. And so I'm telling you guys, that is the number one thing I enjoy about being a DoorDash driver. Now, the next question is, how much do I make hourly? Now, I kind of just went over that, but I would say on average $26 to $28 an hour. Dinner hours, I make over 30, but if I'm doing a like 8-hour shift, $25 to $28 an hour. So we'll go with that. And then how many hours a week do I DoorDash? I would say now, since I'm trying to put out as much content as possible for you guys, I'm at about 20 to 30 hours a week. I don't normally do 40 anymore, but I would say right around 20 to 30 is where I like to be at, because then I can get a nice $600 to $800 paycheck that week. So that's usually what I try to do. How much do I make per week? I pretty much just said that, so I'm not going to go over that again. $600 to $800 per week, depending on how many hours. And I could definitely make over 1,000 if I put in a full 40. So let's just make that known to everyone. If you work full time, you can make over 1,000. It's not that hard. So now that we've done all that, we've pretty much gone over everything I had planned for this video. Now, what I wanted to do for you guys is break down a DoorDasher's finances. And so for those of you listening and not watching, it might be a little bit harder to understand, but if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, then I'm going to put up some graphics and stuff for you guys to look at, so it's easier to comprehend. But I've had a lot of people ask me like to break down my finances and break down just a DoorDasher's finances in general, because I have gone over it in my videos. I usually, every single DoorDash vlog that I put out, I break down the finances, but some people don't know where I'm getting those numbers. And so I wanted to do a full in-depth breakdown to close out this first episode of the podcast. And so what we're going to be doing is taking an $800 week, pretty much, and I'm going to be breaking it down for you guys on where your money should go and how much money you should end up with in the end. So this is going to be fun. We're going to go into the calculator right here, and we are just going to do the math for you guys. So what you're going to start off with is you have your $800, okay? That is your income from, let's just say, you worked 40 hours that week. We'll just keep it simple. You made $20 an hour, you worked 40 hours, and you made $800. So $800 is your total income. That is not how much you get to keep, unfortunately. So what you do from that point is you have your total income that you made. And then right off the bat, what you're going to do is subtract how much you spent on gas. So a great app you guys can use to track your miles is Gridwise. It's completely free. I'm not sponsored by them whatsoever, but just download the Gridwise app and you just click this little button and it tracks your miles for you. And there's a bunch of other stuff that it does for you as well, so you can check it out. But the number one thing I use it for is just to track my mileage. Sorry, another water break. So yeah, I use Gridwise to track my mileage, and it works really well. And then the way you're going to track how much you spend on gas is you're going to take how much you spend on gas to fill up your tank. So I spend $55. So you can just track the money you spend throughout the week. That might be easier for you guys as well. So I usually have to fill up like once or twice a week. So we would put that in and minus $110 from that. So now you're at $690. But if you wanted to get really technical, like I'm talking really technical, then what you would do is you would look at the Gridwise app and you'd go into the miles you drove. Say you drove like 550 miles, okay? And so you know that your car gets 30 miles per gallon and you have a 15-gallon tank. Then you would do 15 gallons times that 30 miles per gallon that you get, and on a full tank you can get 450 miles from that. And so then you would know that you spend $40 to fill up, and so that would be one tank of gas, $40, and then you still have 100 miles unaccounted for. So then you're going to do 450 divided by 100, and you get 4.5, and then you're taking 1 and you're dividing it by that 4.5, and you get 22%. So you still have 22% that you have to account for. And what that's going to turn into is 22% of that $40 that you're spending, because that's the additional miles that are outside of that full tank of gas. So you're going to times that by the 20%, and you get $8.80. So then you add that on to the full tank of gas, which you spent $40 on, and you spent $48.80, if that makes sense. So it'll be easier to understand if you're watching this on YouTube, because I'll have the graphics that show that. So you would take that $48.80 and you would minus that from your $800 income. And so now you are left with $751.20. So you might think, okay, that's how much I made for the week. No, that's still not. So now what you're going to do is you have to factor in taxes, and taxes get tricky, okay? The way taxes work is it's different in every state, but I'm just going to go with like a generic, you're going to have to look it up depending on what state you're in, because there's state taxes and there's federal taxes. But I'm just going to go with a general tax bracket, and you only have to pay 10% on the first $9,000 you make, about. So if you want to, you're going to want to look it up to make sure what your tax bracket is. But on your first $9,000 you make, you only have to pay 10%. So we're going to say that this is still in, we haven't made $9,000 yet. So the $751.20, we're going to times that by 0.1. That's the 10%. And so we owe $75.12 in taxes. But if there's two different ways you can go about it. You can just pay your full amount in taxes and count your total income on your taxes, so that if you go to apply for a loan or something like that, then it shows that you make more money. If you deduct and write off all these expenses, then it's going to show that you pretty much make no money and you're not going to be able to get a loan. So there's two different ways you can go about doing this. You can pay the full amount, which would be the $75.12, or you can deduct the miles you drove. So I think we said, I can't even remember how many miles we said we drove, but I think we said 550 miles is how many we drove. But we're going to go, yeah, it was the 550 miles. That's right. So we're going to take 550 miles and times that by 0.56, because you can deduct 56 cents off of every mile you drive for business. So we could deduct $308 from our $800 total income, and that is how much we're actually going to have to pay in taxes. So we minus the 308 from the 800 and we get $492. That is what is happening there. So you get $492, and that's actually the income that's going to be counted towards your taxes. So you're going to have to only pay 10% of that $492 because you deducted $308 from your total. And so now you don't have to pay money. You don't have to pay taxes on that money you deducted. So now you're left with that $492, and you only have to pay $4.92 in taxes. So we were at $751.20, and we deducted that. So now we only have to pay. Sorry, it wasn't $4.90. It was $449 in taxes after you do the deductions. I apologize. So now you get to keep $702 out of that $800. So that's the best way I can explain it on how to break everything down. And also something that I highly encourage, because if you either have a car payment or you have a car that's paid off, but you're putting a lot of miles and a lot of wear and tear on your car as a Doordash driver. So what I like to do and what I advise people to do is you should take 5% of every week's paycheck and just put that aside for a new car. Because I would say if you have a car, it can last about 3 years, maybe 5 years of dashing full time. So if you take that 800 that you had originally, times it by 5%, and you're putting $40 away every single week for like 4 years, let's say, which would be 208 weeks. So if you do that every single week, then you have a nice $8,320 when it comes time to buy a new car. And trust me, you can get a really, really good mileage car for $8,300. So I highly suggest just putting away that 5%. That's just $40 out of that 800. And so after that, you have the 702, which we had after taxes, after gas, and then minus that 40, the 5% that you're taking out for your car in the future. And from an 800 week, you end up pocketing $662 after it's all said and done, after you've deducted taxes, after you've factored in gas, and after you've put aside money for your next car. So that's how I would break down your finances. That's how I break down my finances. And let me tell you, it'll come in handy putting away that 5%. You don't have to, so you can keep that little extra money, but I just highly recommend you save for a new car, because your car is only going to last 3 to 5 years, I'm telling you, if you're dashing full time. But you can easily make over $800 a week as a Doordash driver. That was just kind of a lowballing estimate that I did for easy math purposes. But you could easily make $1,000 to $1,200 a week, so you'd be pocketing probably $1,000 if you made $1,200. Let's actually see what percent we're keeping out of all that. I'm curious. So 662 divided by 800. So you're keeping about 83% still, and that's like more than you get to keep at a normal job. Yeah, you don't get a tax return, but that is about the amount of money. Like, you get to keep a little bit more than the average W-2 worker. So that's pretty good, and that's with saving up for a new car too. And so there you have it. That it pretty much comes out to be like just a normal job. Like they always say, I saw an article the other day, or it might have been this morning, that if you factor in all of a DoorDasher's expenses, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll throw it up for you if I can find the article, but it said if you factor in all of your expenses as a DoorDash driver, you make $1.50 an hour or something like that. And I was like, where are they getting this information? Like, who is writing this article? Like, you've obviously never dashed a day in your life. So I was just blown away by that. And so it's actually interesting to see that you do make 83% of your total income. So there's no way you only make that amount of money. The $1.50 is just a flat out lie. So So basically, if you're doing the $20 an hour, we're going to take 83% of that, and you'd be making $16.60 an hour. So after it's all said and done, you make 83% of every dollar you make as a DoorDash driver. That's how much you get a pocket. So, well, guys, there we have it. That pretty much wraps up the first ever episode of the DoorDash podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining. It was a pleasure giving you guys my story, telling you how I became a DoorDash driver and what went into this whole process. So, new episodes every single Sunday, and hopefully we can get some guest dashers on here in the near future. We can break down their finances, see how much money they're making. And I just wanted to close out by saying, so far my YouTube channel has made $55 in just about 4 days of being monetized. So I just got monetized this week, and yeah, we've made $55. So I will keep you guys updated on that. And with that said, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for watching. As you guys know, you're the best subscribers in the entire world. Stay tuned for next week's episode on Sunday, and I will see you guys next time.